Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 240 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to move some of the bus around in order to make room for our new ores. Enjoy. Well, for now, we can try to pipe this into the existing setup the best we can, but I'm thinking we may want to redo the belt somewhat, because right now we have them pretty well sorted, where we have crushed chunks, and then this right here, which doesn't make much sense. So I'm thinking of turning this right here into the crystal tier, and that will take 6 belts. And then we can do another 6 belts of the 3 different tiers of cupric and ferric. And then above that, we'll probably need another 6 belts for the 3 different tiers of catalyst. So we definitely need to move all this up a bit. And as a result, kind of the positions of some of this will change, but if we don't move the positions of these 2 bottom belts, and these machines stay in the same orientation, then they'll still be lined up, and hopefully at least some of this logic will still work. I'm not sure how much of it will apply and how much we'll have to redo, but we have all this extra stuff in here, and I think we need to leave these storehouses in place now so the logic for the other systems will work. But for now we can pull these out. And yeah, the mixtures aren't hooked up or anything, but pretty much one of the next things we're going to do is need to move all of these sorting setups up here and add more to them to the side. And of course, add more logic up top for the output and more logic at the bottom for the input. But for now, we can try to clear this out, and luckily it's all in the network. So we can just grab everything, and the resources should go where they need to go. Man, look at that. Well, some of them are going to where they need to go. Well, we definitely don't want all those dust types in our inventory. So we'll set all these to 0. Add even more to our growing list of requests or denials for our inventory. And this doesn't need to be in place. So we can get rid of this lubricant pipe. And we can pull this out. No need to hook it up right now, because if we set the belt down here and we're planning on moving all the belts around, it would just immediately move again. So no need to go through that right now. But it is nice to pull up old belts when you have a new setup in place. Okay, there we go. We've cleared out the old setup and put in a new one. Certainly seems like it works all right, but we won't really be able to test it until we've got a new ore setup ready. And even then, because we already have a bunch of ores, it's not like a bunch of stuff is going to run. So it's not going to be quite as exciting as the first switch flipping. So pretty much all of this is going to have to move up a little bit. Not to mention that these ore sorting setups are probably going to get bigger because of a larger use of productivity modules. But it is piped into a priority system here, where we only have 1 belt, but we have all these warehouses to control where the resources have priority, so we'll probably want to take a look at that. Like, I want to try to not just redo everything if possible. So, if we keep the belts in the same positions and just move them, we should have more space while still being able to copy and paste a lot of these settings here. Now, as far as how much space we want, I think I'm going to stick with the 6 belts across setup here, even though we could do it up to 10, because there's 6 different angels ores, so it just fits really well. And of course, we could probably want even more than that, so we want to try to prepare for the future here. So what I'm thinking we can do here is we can put the hazard concrete down and figure out where we want these belts. And then I can pick up the bottom half of these machines across here, because that'll have the wires and the logic and also the belts in the correct positions. And then we can just get rid of the middle part here because it's going to get bigger. And then also, because this top part needs to move up, we can make a copy of the top part with just the top machines, because that's where the logic is again. And then we'll have to modify everything for the new items. So that's going to be fun. Bots are going to have a lot of work in front of them here, because they have a lot of resources to move around. Well, there's some initial things we want to do, because while we're doing this, it's going to completely mess up the logic to all of these ores, and we don't want that happening. So we want to try to disable as much of this as possible, and only flip it back on in the end once we've got everything figured out. And the first thing I'm going to do here is unhook the output going to these crystallizers to make sure nothing gets crystallized. And actually, I guess we could leave them in place here. It's kind of a little too late because I picked the items up, but looks like if we just disconnect it right there, that will make sure no resources get sent down here to be crystallized, because we don't want to be wasting our minerals if we can avoid it. And another kind of potential flaw I've noticed is that this is always set to 10,000 because it's grinding away our slag to make that happen. But that's kind of a problem because it's also using the stone for that same process. I mean, it does seem to be set up in a sense where it's not using too much stone here. But I am kind of worried that when this starts up to produce these slag slurry, that it's using stone to make that happen. So for now, I'm just going to test to see how this works by unhooking this and just see how low the crushed stone gets, because the only source of crushed stone will then be from the ore bus. And if this works properly, then we can potentially remove all of this stuff in here as not being necessary anymore, but we'll have to see. I'll hook it back up if it messes things up. So as far as these resources, it's been a while, but I talked about these constant combinators here that can create a test signal for the purposes of seeing how this stuff works. Well, at the same time, we could use that test signal to prevent any of this running by having the test signal be higher than the minimum settings for all of these ores. So we could essentially shut everything down by setting this to a reasonably high number, like 40,000. And then if we set that on, this is silver. And if you look in our ores, now silver is hard locked to 40,000. So if it was lower, it bumps it up, and that's this case. But if it's higher, it bumps it down. And I created this just as a method to test all this to make sure that it worked. But we can also use it and just copy this across all of these to disable the entire ore bus to make sure nothing at all runs. Although I probably should set it to 30,000 because that might change some stuff upstream. So let's set that to 30. There we go. So now if we hover over, every single ore type we have is air quotes at 30,000, so none of this will run. Of course, we also have all this ore that's in the way. So to pick up and move this stuff, we are going to need to move all these ores. And to make that easier, we perhaps should just use our inventory for it so the bots don't have to just struggle. And we want this to be really high. So let's claim some space up here. And another box to put all our inventory in. So unfortunately our goal here is just to move all of this ore. It would take the bots absolutely forever to do this. So it's just faster if we do it. Although it might be made slightly faster if we use the crawler because of its storage space, but I'm pretty sure it's Like all the way up here. Yeah. It has a lot of storage space, but we would have to drive it down here. And it's pretty far. But... oh, I'll go get it. It's been a while since we've driven this thing, and it looks like it has a lot of wood on hand. But let's take it down there. And actually, now that I think about it, we might actually want the crawler for this. Because it's going to be a very long distance for the bots to have to travel to get all this stuff. In addition, I don't think the bot network extends anywhere close to this far right now. Yeah, it doesn't really. So it might be easier to rip all this up with the crawler and then put the bot network in after the fact. But now that we have the crawler, we can kind of clear out some of its inventory here. Guess just put it there. And picking stuff up is a lot easier. It holds about 1.5 of these warehouses, so it's pretty big. That's interesting. What are robots going to do? I guess there was items on the ground. What do you know? And there we go. Last load. Okay, I think that's all cleared out. Get our stuff back. Turn on logistics. Okay. Now we need to tear all this up in a way that hopefully minimizes the amount of work we have to do. So first we'll want to make a copy, and to help us align it, let's use some hazard concrete. It looks like we're running low. But let's just put a line here just to show where the edge of the machines are, so I'll have to remember that. And now we need a blueprint. And we want to try to grab as much as is relevant, but we don't have to completely grab everything. We want to try to maybe do this. Make sure that there's nothing that doesn't get captured. The main thing we're trying to capture is all of this belt and all of the logic. So as long as we capture that, we're good. And it looks like we'll be picking up that supply depot, but oh well. At least we'll copy it. Whether we pick it up or not is something else. But something like that, and good luck placing that. I'll keep the tiles down too to help us position it. And let's unhook this stuff down here if it isn't already. So it's not needlessly producing resources. Okay. Some of the ore is going to get caught in this process, but that's okay. We've taken care of the majority of it. So now we can basically remove everything down to the last set of machines, which have the logic attached to them. So based on the size of all of these, looks like to the bottom of here. It's always a little nerve-wracking doing something like this, because this is going to be a big change to the factory, and there's definitely logic hooked up, so it might break some things, but oh well. So we just need to start picking things up. At least to the first set of machines here. Yeah, you can see it is kind of running a little bit because some of the logic got broken, so probably should unhook all of this up here as well to make sure nothing runs. Because right now it thinks we have nothing, which I guess we technically do, but No need to produce all this ore. The crawler's pretty fast at what it does. Leave all those belts in place, we can pretty easily move them later. Not concerned about a few supply belts like that. I'm just worried about all of this logic. This thing is kind of solar powered now, so we need to keep an eye on the battery charge. It's nice that the personal roverport and the crawler can work together. Uh-oh, my inventory's full of junk. I need to be able to keep my character charged, so I might as well just put charge pads down in random places wherever it makes sense and just pick them up again. And keep it moving. Guess the base spots are kind of helping now. And this thing is about to run out of power, so time to fuel it up. And keep it moving. Well, that thing's almost certainly going to have to move. So hopefully remember that it's there. And replace it when we've got all these things in a different location. Oh, it's nice having the base bots, the crawler, and the personal bots all helping out. And we've got nothing on the circuit head right now, so we might as well just close it. And that thing charges bots a lot faster than I do. Look at that. It looks like that power generator is just barely enough for all of these bots. And finally, the end of this here. We are picking up the storage location for that ore, so the base bots are taking it to the wrong spot. But oh well. Guess the factory's trying to do this part, but I will just pick those up. Okay. They came back because they ran out of power. Womp womp. So the next part here is basically just removing all of these machines down to the part we want to copy again, because we're going to need more machines, which is just basically going to be copying the same thing over and over. So this middle bit in the sandwich we don't really need. So we can just remove it without making a blueprint for it. But before we start ripping things out, let's make a blueprint of the thing we do want. So this giant thing lags the computer a little bit, but that's the old one. And we'll have to position it just right. And I think it would be actually like that exactly. So we'll have to use the map for that. And then now we need to make a copy of the bottom half that we want to keep. So we want to copy these warehouses and their logic and all of the belts. So it looks like if we copy to... I'll just go here and copy over some stuff. Just to make sure we get everything. Well, that's a lot of belt though. Looks like the very lowest thing is this. And that will capture it. So we drag this the long way and get one machine of every section. There it is. Well, kind of. Because we don't have the machines on the very end there. So maybe I didn't drag it up high enough. There we go. That looks a little better. It has its alignment mark up there. We'll take it. And now that we have that down, we can disconnect all of the supply warehouses here. Make sure they don't get filled up. There's only 1,000 in each one, so that's not too bad. I think bots can handle that just fine. Let's just remove them so they're not constantly filling up while we're removing it. But from here, we just need to tear out everything else, because now we've copied what we need. It's kind of funny to use a charge pad while the bots are in range. Free power. Pretty painless. Time for more power. There's another set of bricks. Great thing about wood bricks is they're very dense. Not only do they hold a lot of energy, but they also stack in units of 200. So for the purposes of power like this, they're pretty convenient. And we'll grab some more. I'll try to avoid the warehouses so we can get closer on the next pass. Hello, factory bots. That's a lot of them. Well, in burst, the factory bots sure know what to do. It's nice that they take the resources where they're supposed to go and not just slam them back in the crawler. Swoosh. Well, I think the factory's got this part, so we can just leave it. And we can come in for the next pass. So we're going to change the position of this third set of belts. So we should probably disconnect the input side so it's not just filling it up as we pick them up. So we'll grab all of that. Hey, factory robots are helping again. It's fine by me. Sorry, bots, you can't charge there anymore. Well, that's basically everything here. And just kind of pick up the little bits. Also, this logic doesn't really need to be necessary because it's going to be handled on this side instead, probably. So we can pick it up and we'll have to rebuild it in the proper location later. But for now, it's unnecessary. We can clean up the belts a little bit here. Make it look a little nicer. And basically from here, just pull out all of these belts that come down here because these are the only things that are here, so now we can get rid of them. But otherwise leave the alignment correct for everything else. There we go. That's cleaned out. Don't know why these weren't picked up, but there we go. So something is missing now. But not for long. We'll get it back in there. But that's gonna have to wait until the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.